Hello, welcome back through our walkthrough Unit 4 of the AP World Modern Curriculum. Today we're going to talk about the Columbian Exchange. Now, this isn't going to be too long of a video, but don't let that don't let that be the judge of how important this is. This is one of the biggest drivers of change that we experience throughout all of the AP World History Modern Curriculum. So definitely, not that anything else is any less important, but this section is one to keep in mind as you move into the AP World exam and start doing your reviews, to recognize that the changes that are coming because of the Columbian Exchange are going to represent some of the biggest in world history. And if you have any kind of question that is dealing with a time period that spans the 1500s, so maybe 1200 to 1700, you're probably going to want to cite some impact of the Columbian Exchange as a major driver of change. This focus on this unit is the humans and the environment. And that really is what the Columbian Exchange is. It is a biological exchange. What you need to know is that new connections between the Eastern and Western hemispheres will bring exchanges of plants, animals, diseases, and even people, known as the Columbian Exchange. And this contributes to tremendous demographic impacts. Demography is the study of human populations. So as we work through here, we're going to recognize that because of the things exchanged between the Western and Eastern hemisphere and vice versa, we're going to see some major population changes. Please make note that this is all about environmental impacts, the movement of people, the movement of food. I think sometimes students tend to get kind of bogged down in thinking about the environment as only, pollution or maybe like negative environmental impacts like water pollution or air pollution or, deforestation. Those are absolutely essential. But there are other things that fit into this humans and the environment theme, like the movement of people, plants, or animals. So as we press a closer look into the Columbian Exchange, as we said, there are going to be tremendous impacts on the Americas, as we are going to see those plants and those animals and those diseases move between hemispheres. Diseases are going to ravage Amerindian populations. Smallpox, measles, influenza, malaria will all enter into populations that have no previous contact with those diseases, and they will lack any kind of immunities or antibodies, which we're all learning a lot about right now in 2020. And these are going to be absolutely devastating to Native American populations. Within about 100 years, 50% of the Native population will be dead. Within about 200 years, that number is going to rise to 90%. And essentially, 100% of populations on smaller Caribbean islands. But the Columbian Exchange is also going to contribute to new animals and foods moving to the Americas, pigs, cows, horses, almost anything that you see at your local petting zoo in the summertime, right? These will impact diets and lifestyles of people in the Americas. Notice the picture above me. This is what a lot of Americans think about when they think of Native Americans on the Great Plains. But those Native Americans were never on horses. They weren't a part of their culture until the Columbian Exchange brings them. Staple crops like wheat and rice will enter into the Americas. Citrus and sugar, which is going to become the big daddy cash crop of them all, are introduced into the Americas. To Afro-Eurasia, maize, corn, potatoes, each of those contributing to population growth. Tomatoes, think of a pizza or spaghetti. There's no red sauce in Italy until tomatoes are introduced into Europe. Peppers, beans, cacao. It's one of my favorite aspects of the Columbian Exchange because I am an absolute chocolate junkie. But the cacao bean, where we get cocoa from, comes from Central America, whereas the milk and the sugar that you need to turn into milk chocolate comes from Afro-Eurasia. And so we combine those two things and we make maybe one of the greatest inventions in all of history. Food diversity is going to increase as well, along with population growth. People are going to be able to have more varied diets. I'm going to leave this here for just a moment. You guys can pause the video and take a look at this excellent graphic to see things that are going to be traveling back and forth across this exchange. Also want to look at the what is known as the African diaspora as another effect of the Columbian exchange. That word diaspora, we've heard it before with merchant diasporic communities, for example, in the Indian Ocean, where Muslim merchants will spread their faith as they settle in new regions. Diaspora is a spreading or a scattering of a population, and due in part to the Columbian exchange and the death of indigenous Americans and the need of Europeans for cheap labor to produce the goods that they are going to be producing in the Americas. Europeans will look to Africa, and they will purchase or trade for enslaved Africans to bring across the Atlantic Ocean to live and labor in the Americas. And this is an event known as the African diaspora, as over 12 million Africans from West Africa will be brought into the Americas, primarily to work on large plantation farms, producing cash crops. This is sugar, this is tobacco, this is cotton, this is coffee. African crops will also make the journey across the Atlantic, and will introduce new foods into the Americas, like okra and rice and yams that previously didn't exist in Central or America, South America, or the Caribbean. Sugar becomes the leading cash crop of the Americas. Brazil and the Caribbean become the primary producers of American sugar. And so these will become the primary destinations for enslaved Africans. We also want to recognize the environmental degradation that comes with the Columbian exchange. So another aspect of the humans and the environment theme of this unit. The production of cash crops in plantation agriculture, which is a massive farm producing primarily one crop, is going to be devastating to the natural environment. You've got to slash down forest lands to give you wide open farmlands. And then the continuous planting of one crop, especially a very demanding crop like sugarcane, is going to lead to soil degradation in the areas where it will be planted. And we're also going to see that densely populated colonial settlements will also contribute to pollution in areas that there hadn't previously been more densely populated settlements. So the big three, what are we going to take from this unit? First, this brings the first major connections between Afro-Eurasia and the Americas since the prehistoric Ice Age. Vikings, you're saying? Yeah, there were Vikings. They didn't set up a permanent settlement. They didn't stay forever. So we don't talk too much about the Vikings in this class. The resulting exchanges of plants, animals, and diseases will bring changes to societies in the Americas, Africa, Europe, and Asia. Demographic impacts on both sides of the Atlantic will contribute to tremendous loss of lives in the Americas and population growth elsewhere as new foods enter diets. And we'll talk to you in a couple days with the next step in this unit.